First day of the legal tampering period saw the Jacksonville Jaguars do things that made fans scratch their heads, but I'll tell you why you need to calm down here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to get on here and cut up as usual because she is right. It is your team every day. And we thank you for making us your first listen here on Locked On Jaguars. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast, where you can find wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen. Make sure you tap in to that location each and every day. And shout out to the everydayers for being here every day. I am so grateful for you. And if it's your first time, I really hope you enjoy the show. I'm going to start right now and try to give you a reason to come back. All right, we're going to end the show talking about how they bolstered this team at different levels. We had previously talked about how adding talent doesn't always have to come from the top or from the floor. It could come right in the middle. And I think the Jaguars did a good job yesterday of making that happen. Changing the tight end room. This is really, really important because this isn't just about the tight ends. This is about them knowing what type of team they are and who they are. And they may have, they let a really, really good player go. I think Evan Ingram was better than both of the tight ends that they signed yesterday, but that's not the point. These two are better for them, and that's what we'll discuss. All right, let's go ahead and start at the top. Not the names you expected. I get accused sometimes of proving people wrong, right? I get accused sometimes of saying I told you so. I'm going to do it again. I kind of told everybody and really tried to warn everybody that some of these signings may come at places where you think the player that's occupying that space on the depth chart is good enough that you can build things around them. And to fans' credit, I get it and I understand it. And yeah, I have even at times tripped out on, when people keep talking about getting another edge rusher, and I'm like, y'all good. We're good at edge rusher. Yeah, we need a third edge rusher, but we don't need a third edge rusher more than we need a starting number 2 wide receiver or a starting right guard or starting center. So I've done that myself, right? But I've also tried to balance that out by saying that when you know what your priorities are, I look at it like this. You walk into a grocery store and your priorities are all the way in the back, but there's some things you're going to need. If you're passing it, just pick it up along the way, right? So that's the approach that I want to take. And I do believe that the Jaguars have done that yesterday. I'm going to run through some names right now and tell you exactly how I feel about all of them. Tight end, Johnny Munt. I'm going order, and I'm using the order from Big Cat Country here because I like guys over at Big Back Country. I said big back country. Ain't that something? I done called my boy Travis Holmes a big back. That ain't what I meant. But quarterback Nick Mullens. Let's start there. Backup, you were wondering who the backup was going to be. Everyone thought it was just going to be Mac Jones, hometown kid, running back. No, the Jaguars signed someone, I believe, for the purpose of being able to functionally understand this offense from day one. He is going to be Trevor's buddy, his best friend. And he's going to be able to explain everything. So when they're in that meeting room and you have Trevor Lawrence, Nick Mullens, quarterback coach, offense coordinator, the person in there when this initially starts that knows the least about what's going to be talked about is Trevor. Therefore, he's a helpmate. And it's almost an old school approach where the backup quarterback is like the smartest guy in the room. Well, that's the case here with Nick Mullens, and I like that signing. The bottom line is, if you ever really see Nick Mullens playing, that's a bigger issue, and that is no slight to him. And I know backup quarterbacks are super, super important, but if you really see Nick Mullens playing a lot on the team, then you need to be crossing your fingers because he's a backup quarterback. But the most important thing is, at least from that perspective, they'll be able to function and they won't have to change the things that they're doing, and they can try to scheme some stuff up. And we've seen it in the past where backup quarterbacks have been able to help teams do that. So to me, that's a pretty solid signing. Most of it may be based on familiarity. All of it probably is based on familiarity. And I think that's a pretty good deal. And I don't think there's anything absolutely wrong with that. Moving along, Johnny Munt. Johnny Munt is another former Minnesota Viking. I actually remember watching him play, and I was like, wow, that's a nice little developmental tight end that they have there. I want to put him together with Hunter Long, the other tight end. And in segment 2, we're going to talk about those. So I'll skip that. But there's a bigger message beyond the tight end room that I want to convey. Let's move to the next one. Dyami Brown. This one shocked me. And I'll tell you why it shocked me. First, I think he is an explosive player. Second, I think he had good games. He had a good game right in front of Liam Cohen's face when Tampa and Washington played in the playoffs. And he's done some nice things. And he was a dude that they had him in their program for a couple of years up there, and he played okay. But the reason why I say $10 million deal worth up to $12 million is a lot for him is because when I suggested that the Jaguars sign Darius Slayton or that they take a look at Darius Slayton, there were people saying, "Oh, he's mid, he's this, he's that." Darius Slayton had 4 seasons, 4 of his 5 years, he caught over 700 yards in receptions on a bad team with a bad quarterback with a bad offensive line, right? And he has speed and versatility. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars looked into it and found out it was a little bit more expensive because he ended up signing a 3-year, $36 million deal to stay with the New York Giants. But what Dyami Brown has done is he's caught 700 yards and passes over his entire career. That's why I thought it was a bit of a reach. It's a bit of an overpay. But what it is I think it's an injection of speed. I think they know exactly how they're going to use him. And they have probably seen firsthand exactly what he can do if you get him the ball in those situations. So from that being said, I don't have a problem with it. He had his best season last year when the quarterback improved, Jaden Daniels. He has almost half of his the yards in his entire career last season. So I think that they're looking at this as upside, and it's one of the things that I really want to watch and see how they move forward. Patrick Mekari, I like this pick, and if you listen to the podcast enough, you know I've mentioned his name because he's versatile. He doesn't cost you a whole bunch. They signed. When I say signed, by the way, we all know that the tampering period is 2 days before actually being able to sign. So we'll just go with that. He was a better option, obviously, as I record this. Offensive line Will Fries just signed a 5-year, $88 million with the contract with the Vikings. That tells me that the Jaguars, even if they inquired, they realized that price was sky high. The Jacksonville Jaguars got Mekari. It's a minimum value of $39 million with a $20 million guarantee for 3 years. I don't believe Mekari is a better player than Will Fries. I think he's more versatile. But I when you look at the value of it, and we always have to pay attention to the value of these picks, Will Fries ain't $45 million better than Patrick Mekari. So the Jaguars made a solid decision when it comes to that. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to peel off here for a second, and we'll continue to look at these names, the names that they signed. I'll explain it to you. We'll talk about maybe at the end of the show what may be next. But as we get into changing the tight end room, I'm going to include some more analysis from the rest of the players the Jaguars signed and tell you exactly why and how I think all of these things are going to work out. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is brought to you and sponsored by Betterhelp. Taking care of your mental health can feel like a big investment, but it's just as important as taking care of your body. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, but with BetterHelp, you can save up to 50% per session. BetterHelp offers a flat fee for weekly online therapy sessions, making professional support more accessible and affordable. With over 30,000 therapists and 5 million people helped, it's the world's largest online therapy platform. Look, man, I just missed some days because of having a very, very invasive surgery. But the pain that I felt for 3 years, I actually had to get therapy to do pain management, and BetterHelp really, really did help me. Your well-being is worth it. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, let's continue to move along here on Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every day. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast, talking about the tight ends, talking about all of the free agency additions of the Jacksonville Jaguars. over the next 24, the past 24 hours. So let's get right into it. I skipped those tight ends and let me get back to those tight ends. Johnny Munt. Johnny Munt, I saw him play. I saw watching a couple of Vikings games this year. I saw him. He played pretty well, and he's a good developmental tight end. When you pick guys like him and you pick guys like Hunter Long, who's the other tight end that the Jaguars signed, you're not going to go out here and be able to get Travis Kelce. You're not going in his prime, right? You're not going to go out here and get you name him, Antonio Gates in his prime. That's just not the way it works. And a lot of people in their draft, in their free agency mocks or their free agency wish list, I want them to go back now and see the money that all of these guys cost and look at their list and see exactly why I knew that they were basically, it was like a wish list for rich people. There ain't no way the Jaguars will be able to get all these dudes. But that's free agency. And you, after doing this for 40 some odd years, man, you really have to understand that it doesn't work that way. Like all of those, there were people naming dudes, man. The Jaguars would have been over the salary cap if you just included 5 or 6 of the people that folks wanted around here and not even included the rest of the team. It's just not realistic. The value scale is not what people think it is. The most important thing that they did with these tight ends is they changed the way that room looks. Evan Ingram has a wide receiver's body. I sat in the press box with the former head coach, and it was a play where Trevor threw a pick. And it was a preseason game, but it was a couple of years ago. And I said, look, they're going to blame 16 for that. But on this replay, I said, Coach, watch this. Didn't he Olay the guy? Evan Ingram did not push the right buttons. He did not run on the right shoulder. He took the easy route out, and he gave the defender exactly what he wanted. And then when he had to break, basically what happened is he came off the line, and instead of running right through the guy who was playing a little bit of a bail technique, he decided that once that guy got in his way, I'll go to the inside and run around him. But then he tried to loop and come out towards the sideline, and the ball got intercepted. You're supposed to press that outside shoulder, force that guy into flipping those hips, and then go to the outside. Therefore, there would have been nobody in between him and the ball. And the coach said I was exactly right, and that's extremely important. Well, he ran that route like a wide receiver. He didn't run it like a tight end. And when you have a move tight end, I've said this over and over again, no matter how many stats he puts up, when you have a move tight end, it is a tell. This is what we are going to do. We are passing, and when we're running, we are not running in his direction because he can't block. It'll work if you're Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and you're a great team. It does not matter whether they know it's coming. When you're not a great team, it does matter. So I understand them rebuilding that room now with Brenton Strange being probably tight end 1. But these other 2 guys are going to put some pressure on him, and I think they have the body types to get that done. Let's keep moving to safety Eric Murray, a former Tennessee Titan and Kansas City Chiefs. He's a starter, all right? He got a 3-year, $19 million base contract with $12 million guaranteed. That means he is in the starting lineup. I think he's a good player. He's a quiet player. I was told the Jaguars would sign a free agent and then maybe draft another safety. I was also told that they may give Dewey Wingard a shot at that position. So Eric Murray played very, very well last year. 1 interception, 1 sack, 17 tackles. This is a few weeks ago, I said we need to find the Tayshaun Gibson signing that we had in 2017. Well, there you go. This is the one. This is that veteran that you need. And I don't think the Jaguars are done there. Patrick McCarry, let's get to it. I think it's a really, really good pick. We've mentioned him before. He's a Swiss Army knife. He moves around. He can. He's played every single position on that line. I don't know where they have an intent to start him. I believe right now it may be right guard, depending on how the draft goes, or he could be the guy that plays left guard where he played last year in Baltimore. And there's a lot of Ravens fans and people I know personally that's going, he's just a guy. I saw the Ravens run to their left side a lot. And Ronnie Stanley's a great player. Ronnie Stanley we ain't going to confuse Ronnie Stanley with the best run blocking left tackle in the world. Tyler Linderbaum is a very good player. Those are the guys that he was sandwiched by, and he held his own. So I do believe that it's a really, really good signing for Jacksonville. Maybe he lines up at left guard if they're able to run into something in the draft that they expect or that they don't expect, and they can make him a left guard and use Ezra Cleveland as a bit of a swing guy and a backup, because Ezra also thinks that he can play left tackle. So, I like this signing more than a lot. Robert Hainsey, the former Bucs center who was they signed him to a 3-year, $21 million deal with $13 million guaranteed. You know what that means? He is a starter. He's going to be your center. We can talk about whether or not Mitch Morse's sudden retirement is the reason for this. I don't know what it is. Liam Cohen has experience with him because he was in Tampa last year. But get this, he basically lost his job to Graham Barton, a rookie. Sometimes you can have multiple players that are very, very good. And if the Bucs are the type of organization to say, look, it was competitive, but we don't have to bring Barton along slowly. We're going to play him at center right now and go ahead and get him acclimated to it. He's the best center on our team. That doesn't mean that Hainsey can't play just because he got benched. It just means that the other guy was better and Hainsey was going to be a free agent. So you know what? If he's already slightly better and Hainsey's going to be a free agent, play the guy that we're going to play with. But Hainsey is a good football player. Normally, Hainsey would be the type of dude you would see move once Graham Barton improved enough that everybody knew he was going to be the starter. This is usually somebody that you move right before the trade deadline if you were Tampa. But Tampa probably said, no, we're not getting rid of our depth. We're going to make the playoffs, and there's a chance that we'll be able to make it. So, in a nutshell, we're going to get to segment 3, and this is where I wanted to go. The names you were expecting did not end up on this team. I'm going to tell you why it's important, and I'm going to also get into why some people, man, they just want to complain about everything and not sit back and just watch and observe to see how things turn out. I'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, it's all about TurboTax, man. That's right. Today's show is sponsored by Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was right, waiting and wondering and worrying if you're going to get any money back. I've been through it myself. And then waiting and wondering and worrying some more. Now, taxes isn't about that. It's about matching with TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. All you can do is get the most money back guaranteed. That's it. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is taxes. That's what it is. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live, full service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com. Guarantees. All right, let's do some heavy lifting here, man. Let's just go ahead and talk about it. A lot of these names are names that you wouldn't know. We kind of warned people that was going to happen. The Jaguars are not a team that with the new staff, they didn't have to come in and start from where someone else left off. It's not like they said, okay, Trent, give me the keys. You've done a lot of nice work. We'll take it from here. Now, in our minds, a part of that is true, is because they really believe that this thing isn't bare. The cupboard isn't bare here in Jacksonville. There are a lot of players that Trent Baalke did take that are going to be good players, and they're going to fit what they need to do. But the first year, this is not, we got to make it work with what's already there. Maybe with Gabe Davis and maybe with Eric Armstead, those things are true. Maybe partially with Darnell Savage. It is possibly true that, look, we're paying them a lot of money. It'll cost us a lot more to let them go. Not only are they going to walk out of here with a bunch of money that they've never even given us service for, but they're going to also make our salary cap go down and we won't be able to address. So why not just keep them this year, keep them for get some production out of them, see how we can make it work. This is a situation because they're making so much money, right? So what we'll do is we'll bring in people where we're gonna raise the floor. We're also going to inject some talent right in the middle. We're going to fix our depth issues, but we're going to get guys that really fit what we do. I didn't know who they were going to pick. I was wrong like everyone else. And I even said that if you're right about knowing who the Jaguars are going to pick, then we have a bigger problem because you shouldn't be right about it. So all of the talk about Carlton Davis, all the talk about all of these other guys, and what do the Jaguars do? They go out and sign the best nickel in the business in Jordan Lewis, right? Well, folks are like, why? And I'm going to share something with y'all. I hesitated, but I'd mentioned the name Nate Hobbs before, but I really hesitated to really include him in any free agency additions. It's because I do like Jarian Jones like everybody else, and I don't necessarily believe, or I didn't necessarily believe that it was a situation where the Jaguars had to do something at that spot. But Jarian has been in the league for 1 year. The eval process when it comes to him is very, very fresh for James Gladstone. And maybe Gladstone likes him. And maybe this is a situation where, like, much like the Baltimore Ravens, and in certain situations, kind of like Green Bay, where they're in a lot of nickel and then they're in a lot of dime, and they have 6 DBs on the field. And Jarian has a role there. Jarian also will probably have a chance to compete outside. Someone told me yesterday he's too small. Since when is a 6 foot, 188 pound cornerback too small? Those are the same people that want them to get Jair Alexander, who's smaller than that, to play corner, or Asante Samuel Jr. He's not too small. He just was more effective at the slot in Tallahassee because that's where they needed him when he played at Florida State, and that's where they lined him up this past year here in Jacksonville. He's not little. Doesn't have the longest arms for a dude that's 6 feet tall, but he is by no means a small corner. This is about creating competition. Every single time somebody says something to me about this team, I just go 4-13. 4-13. Instead of worrying about the fact that they signed a player at a position where you didn't think it was a big need, celebrate the fact that about 80% of the things that I read yesterday said that Jordan Lewis is the best slot or the best nickel corner in the NFL. Y'all got the best nickel in the NFL, and all you can do is sit here and say, well, we didn't really need it. This ain't about need. This is about them seeing the best corner in the NFL and nickel in the NFL, and they said, we want him here on our team. That's it. Remember, they're not trying to fix a dish that has already been started by another chef. They are cooking on their own. This is one thing I cannot understand why people complained about this. Even the Dallas Cowboys and Michael Parsons, they was like, hey, man, even people who write for the paper, even other guys, my guys from Locked On Cowboys, Marcus Mosher, and man, those guys, and Landon McCool, those guys, they rave about Jordan Lewis. So this is, when you talk about culture and fit and all of that stuff, this is a culture guy that can play on the field, and he's nasty and he's fast. And remember how Anthony Campanile discussed how they were going to play as a team, that they were going to play a certain way that's fast and furious and quick and mean, and you're going to see people and violent. This dude is a ball player, man, and I'm glad the Jaguars went out and did this. I really, really am. This team, this was a bolstering from the top. It doesn't mean that the other guy ain't good, but you know what it means? Now they have them both. And they can find a way to get both of them on the field at the same time in passing situations. I actually like the pick. I like all of the picks. I was a little bit surprised by Diami, and that's because I was surprised that people would give that much money to someone who had that little production. But I think that they see something in him, and they obviously do because they signed him to a 1-year prove-it deal, right? I'm just to believe, man, that's where you have to go. You have to be bold. And that is a word that James Gladstone, the new GM, has used in the past. You have to be bold with it. You have to be very, very deliberate. Now you're seeing what's going to happen. This is a team that's going to lead with the run. And then they're going to use guys, if they throw the ball, they have guys that if you get the ball in their hands, like Diami, they're explosive. Lots of quick outs, slants, maybe end arounds. Now, put him in tandem with Brian Thomas Jr. and whoever else they go get at wide receiver. They're leaving nothing left to be, desired. It's like we're going to put everything out here. These guys are going to be able to run. These guys are going to be able to pass. It's versatility. It's another explosive player. And he was on a team that went to the NFC Championship last year and played a little bit of a role, made a fumble in the NFC Championship game, but he's a really, really good player. I'm looking forward to what they do now because the Jaguars have really, really set themselves up to take the best player available, regardless of, positional value. I'll get into that later. A lot of people want me to do that show right now. This is not the time to do that yet. I can't get into that yet because let's get the meat off of this free agent bone first. Let's just keep doing this before we start doing too much heavy speculating. But if you're going to do a mock draft, fine, then you can use that. But right now, there's just too much to cover. Like breaking news, like while I was recording this, C.J. Gardner-Johnson just got traded to the Houston Texans. You see how quickly that goes? You see how that works? Houston's already trying to sit here and basically replace Eric Murray, who is signing here in Jacksonville. So yeah, man, just take your time with it. Continue to enjoy it. Continue to watch it. And by the way, there's some people out there that believe that we're just sugarcoating everything and we're just going to like everything that they do. No, what we're going to do, I'm not going to argue every time they pick a player and try to go start poking holes in it. I think that's what most people are doing. And then they're playing the victim, acting like we're all just taking up for the team. I told you guys I want to watch them paint a picture, give them the benefit of the doubt, and then I'll do a whole assessment. I'm trying to figure out where their heads are, what it is that they're doing, and why they're doing it, without questioning each and every step that they make along the way. I really want to give them a shot, man. I want to see exactly what it is that they're going to do and let them explain the why and then try to make sense out of it. And then, like everybody else, we're going to sit there in September and October, November and see if the why matches up with the results. All right. Make sure you tap in each and every day to Locked On Jaguars. Got something else for you too. I appreciate you making us your first listen. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Draft with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. My boys, the truth, man. And now that the season is over, get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. Now, that's going to be critical for you guys. When you start making up your mock drafts, you're going to need as much information as you can. And I can't think of a better duo to be able to give it to you. Quick note here before I say goodbye for the day. Yep, I missed the day yesterday. I had surgery last Friday. I'm getting better. I'm trying not to take these painkillers while I sit here. I'm saying this to say thank you. Thank you to all of the Jags fans for your well wishes and your support. Also, thank you for telling me to not rush back. But guess what I did? I rushed back anyway, and I'm glad for it. I appreciate y'all joining us here on Locked On NFL and Locked On Jaguars. We'll have more as things continue to happen. I'll actually be doing breaking news here, so make sure you tap in wherever you get your podcast. Till tomorrow, we'll see you next time.